Yep.
Now we're live streaming. Okay. Okay, good. It never fails, right? Okay. So
I know
now
I have a technology demon that just harasses me constantly, so I need to be exercised.
goodness, right? All right. All right. Well, let's officially start then. Why don't we start with a prayer? And Danielle, would you lead us in that if you would?
I will. I just have to ask, are we streaming? Because it's asking me to log in to restream.
You're restreaming. It's what it does.
Okay. Okay, I'm done. Okay, I will pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much for this gathering of people who just love this country. I just thank you so much for our friends and associates and acquaintances that we have so much in common and that we come from different walks of life in different areas around the state. And we all have a common goal. We want to preserve freedom, and we want to have a better way of living for our children and our grandchildren. And I pray that you would give us wisdom to move forward effectively with love and also with a clear mind, that we would not be disillusioned or distorted in our thinking by all the influences around us. We just thank you for this night. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So I suddenly got a tickle in my throat. Like I said, the demons tonight, I guess. But everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight. We're really glad you're here. For those of you that are new to Project Civica, my name is Kim Hermance. I'm the president and co-founder of Project Civica. We have Daniel Casase here, who is my co-director and also one of the co-founders. And Stephen is here as well. Stephen Schur, he is one of our coordinators for Long Island, and he is also one of our directors. Is there anybody else here who is on the board or that I should be introducing, Danielle? That I
I
have a
don't know.
look
I can't see right now. Okay.
really quick.
Um,
I don't think so.
well, we have our expert Foil and
Yeah, but
open
we'll
meeting.
get
Both of them
Anne
for the
Marie will
civic
wait
thing.
on you if that's okay.
Okay, no, that's good.
All right. I just wanted to make sure Steve Gillen wasn't here as well. But anyways, so Project Civica is a New York-based civic organization focused on educating, advocating, and empowering citizens to actively participate in their government. And my favorite phrase of the week is turn outrage into action, especially when we're dealing with what we're facing in New York. We believe strong communities are built when informed citizens step forward, not just to only vote, but to understand, engage, and help oversee the systems that affect their lives. So our work at Project Civica centers on three pillars: education, helping people understand how government actually works; advocating, supporting policies and actions that promote transparency and accountability; and participation, creating opportunities to learn those tools and skills that we educated on and that you actually get involved from local activities, maybe with looking at your local budgets, to election oversight, to voter roll research, freedom of information law, all sorts of things. That's the participation part. So the key thing here is to take what you learn and actually put it into action. And that's really what we're trying to do at Project Civica. And that's what we're going to focus tonight's meeting on. We're going to go through some of the initiatives that we've been working on, and hopefully you will find a place that you can jump in on and not only learn, but also actually participate. So whether you're here to learn, get involved, or just understand, we welcome you and you're in the right place. So I already introduced our team, but before we begin, I just want to talk real quick about an upcoming fundraiser on June 11th on Long Island. We have our Comedy for a Cause. So if you are in the city or you're on Long Island, maybe even north of the city, maybe you make it down. But we have a fundraiser going on. Everybody can get together for some laughter, which we all need to do, but also it's a fundraiser for Project Civica. So those details are on our website. Stephen, can you just give a few details about it if you wouldn't mind for a second? Is he still here?
Sorry, struggling with the unmute. Yes. So it's yeah, June 11th. It's a Thursday night. It's at Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown. That's in Nassau County. It's very easy to get to. It's right off the Wantagh Parkway. For you Long Island people, might know what that is. It's a lot of fun. I've been to a number of these there, and you literally laugh so much that your sides will ache. And so I urge everybody to buy some tickets on our website. I'll put a link to how to buy tickets in the chat. And so it should be a great night. Bring your friends, bring your family, and everybody come on down. That's in the area. Queens, Brooklyn, New York City, hop on the train, come on out.
Thank you, Stephen. The other thing I want to talk about or event coming up is on May 27th. We are doing our kickoff for the Government Transparency Project. Danielle, would you kind of just introduce what that is and what we're going to be doing for that, if you would, at this point in time?
Okay, I don't have anything in front of me, so I'm going to wing it. The Government Transparency Project is, it was designed to, let me just get everything. Basically prepare citizens to be able to oversee their government. And I'm going to get into a little bit more about how Project Civica prepares individuals to oversee government, but the Transparency Project is basically getting under the hood of what's going on that we don't know. The things are going on behind the scenes, budgets are being planned, decisions are being made, things are being purchased, zoning is changing, and all of these things are done in a that we have a right to observe. There's open meetings law where we're supposed to be informed. There's FOIL requests we can make so that we could find out the documentation, who made decision, meeting minutes. There's so much information available to us, and we are blessed to have an expert that's willing to teach New Yorkers. And what we would like is to have a bunch of informed people throughout New York State that can oversee what's happening. And we have a project going where we want to get under the hood, and it would be great if we could do something like a Doge or something like finding out if the government is actually following the rules. So please sign up for it. It's very informative. You could use it for your own concerns, not even just the ones that we're thinking of. There's so many applications for this training and this information. So I think I did a somewhat of a good job conveying what we're doing.
I know you did, and I know you're going to talk about it a little bit more. Again, it goes along with that theme I talk about. Turn your outrage into action. I mean, all I hear is people complaining and moaning, and they either move out, but no one actually is staying here trying to dig under the hood and push back. And there are tools that citizens we can use, and that's what we're trying to teach people. Maybe it's just information for you. Maybe you tell your neighbor about it and they're the one that takes action, whatever. But we have to start taking action, and there's legal ways to do it, and that's what we need to do. All right.
They're counting on us that we don't know
Right.
what we don't know. So they're counting on getting away with things, and it's out of sheer laziness. People get lazy, and if we don't check up on them, they're not going to actually dot their I's and cross their T's. So,
Exactly. So the season that we're in right now is that kind of a season. I mean, from Nick Shirley finding all sorts of fraud in Minnesota and all sorts of, he was out in California. There is, I don't know the gentleman's name, but there was a whole bunch of fraud uncovered in Ohio. We've got the task force at the federal level uncovering fraud. So why not be the vehicle of uncovering some of that here in New York State? And there are tools to do that: Freedom of Information law, open meetings law, looking at your municipal budgets, digging into things, and that's basically the purpose of it. So that's actually a really good segue into our first guest tonight. And actually, she's a volunteer, but she's a guest tonight too, is Anne Marie Reeb. She has been leading a project for us, looking into something really basic. Is the Board of Elections in New York State following basic open meetings law? And so that was basically the question, a simple thing. Are they posting their meetings online so that informed citizens can go attend their meetings, or at least look at minutes from their meetings and see what's going on? And so there was a team developed of originally a little bigger than it is right now, but they are going to give us a quick update about what they're doing and finding. And then we do need some help. We need some people to do some vetting of the numbers to make sure things got transferred properly so we can write a report. So Anne Marie, if you would take a couple of minutes and explain what you've been doing, how it was set up, and maybe you can, there's something pretty egregious that's happened to you recently as a result of the project. So you can talk about that if you want to as well. So go ahead. This is Anne. Go ahead.
So we started out with 10 volunteers and it kind of dwindled down to 4. That includes me. But I can tell you the volunteers are doing an excellent job. So we took 58 county boards of elections and we looked to see if they were compliant with open meetings law. And from there, if they were not compliant, they didn't post their minutes or their notices, then we foiled them. So right now we are in the process of the foiling. Most of the records have been retrieved through FOIL requests, some have not, and thus it has required us to appeal them, which has been very, very interesting. Some of the responses we got back on why they couldn't give us the records. And again, the report that's going to come out from this is going to be very eye-opening for not only the lay people, but the newspapers. I actually think the New York State Board of Elections, and there's a lot of other entities that should get this report when it comes out, because it will be that shocking that in this day and age, they still don't know what they're doing. So that's just a little insight. And as far as the one that Kim mentioned about different issues I've been having, so currently I had foiled 26 county board of elections. Well, I appealed a lot of them too. But on one of them, when I appealed, they didn't actually respond to me. Instead, they went in and they took my name and they took my email address and they created an account with my information on it and told me I could go in here to look at the FOIL request records. Well, my FOIL request was over a month old. I already appealed and I'm waiting on my response to my appeal. And I'm just very upset over the fact that they thought they could take my name and my email and create a GovQA account, and that I was going to go in and put my password into it. So I'm not thrilled with that. I did go to the Committee on Open Government, request an advisory opinion. And to tell you the truth, I wasn't too thrilled with their answer either, that I made a phone call to them and talked to the gentleman who actually sent me their advisory opinion, and my upset over someone going in and taking my personal information that was not given to them for any purpose other than to respond to an appeal and use it to open up an account. And considering I do have GovQA accounts through different state agencies, I know exactly how it works. You go in, you put your name, your email, and then you have to put a password in order to create the account. And I thought it was very interesting that they were actually able to bypass the system and create an account for me. Now, they're trying to tell me at the Committee on Open Government, well, they're just tracking the record, wait for the appeal response, which I will. But they told me not to go in and put my password or anything. This is just their way of tracking. I really disagree with that because not only did they create the account, but they took the date of my FOIL request and they changed it. So instead of my FOIL request being April 2nd, it is now May 12th. So not thrilled with what occurred here and not sure how I'm going to pursue it at this point, but I am going to wait to see if the appeals officer responds and then I'll take it from there. But I see Stephen has a question, or maybe Stephen has insight for me, which would be really great.
Thinking
Hey,
that,
Stephen.
hi, Emery.
Hi.
I'm sorry for your plight. I was just thinking that in your interactions with them, right? Did you see any published privacy policy? They might have violated their own privacy policy.
Well, first of all, I to answer that, because I'm a researcher at heart as well. Well, yes, I did pull their privacy policy, but their privacy policy is specific to their website and actually utilizing the website, which I did not utilize. But if you go, it was I'm just trying to think what county this was.
Just trying,
I
did
can't think of
have
it off the top of my head. I want to say it's Rockland.
It is
And
rock. Yeah.
if you go into their FOIL information, you will see where they can create this account. But the only time they can create it is if you fail to provide them the avenue as to how you want to receive a response. And because I provided an email, there was absolutely no reason or authority that they had to create a GovQA account.
In your name. That's the key
In my,
thing.
yeah,
They
it
can
wasn't just in
create
my
it with
first
like,
name, it's in my full name with
right.
my email address. And understand when I put in my FOIL request, I didn't use that email address. That was the email address on my appeal. But that's not the email I used to FOIL the record. So I know that that was because they received my appeal. I feel they did not want to answer my appeal and have to kowtow to the fact that they did not respond properly, which was a constructive denial. And because of that, they put it through into GovQA. I got a nice little welcome message saying, welcome to GovQA. Thank you for creating an account, which blew my mind. And then I got another one requesting that I put in my password in order to complete the account that I did not create. And then it said that we received your FOIL request dated May 12th. Well, my FOIL request is dated April 2nd. So I think there's problems here with their system, and I do not agree with the Committee on Open Government's advisory opinion that it was okay for them to track the request through the GovQA because that would have required me to create an account. And right now, I just like to know who authorized that because I didn't authorize it. If I
Yeah.
wanted to use their GovQA account, I would have used it. I didn't want to use it because I wanted to see what would happen if I emailed the information opposed to using a GovQA or a form. And the New York State FOIL, Freedom of Information Law, does not require the public to have to use any form other than a written submission. And a written submission, which they did confirm on that, can be done by email, in person, US mail. You do not have to use this stuff they put before you. And as one of my other volunteers found out, was they had foiled a county and that county required them to use their form. And how we responded to that was we thanked them for acknowledging the FOIL request. And then we wanted to know the time frame of when they were going to respond and then we just gave them the law about the fact that you don't have to use their forms or their online submissions or their GovQA accounts. And guess what? They responded. But they do this because the lay person doesn't know. The general public person in the public does not know what their rights are. And because I'm working with the volunteers, I'm educating them on, oh, no, 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 you're not going to put it through on the online submission. No, I'm going to help you, and you're going to respond back this way. And they're so shocked when, it works, because they're becoming educated, and to me, the FOIL officer, not all of them, but a lot of them, they will try to utilize whatever works for them and see if they can get away with it. And if you don't know the law, then they get away with it.
And
So,
that's actually a perfect ending.
well, just one other quick thing. We're more than
hold-
halfway done with our project. We're in the appeal stage now, but we do need people to vet.
Yes, that's what I was
So
gonna
I'm
ask you.
looking for two different types of vetters, people that would vet from the original documents to make sure we have all the correct dates in our spreadsheet. And the other ones would look at the documents we received to see if, like, for instance, we received a set of minutes, and does those minutes comply with the requirements of open meetings law? What has to be in the minutes? Are there votes? Or did they just give a motion and then say, oh, it was approved? Because there has to be certain things covered in the minutes. And if your votes aren't in there, then how did this stuff pass? So we want to kind of bring some of this stuff out in the report, the different types of minutes we're getting and what's missing compared to the law. So that's it. I'm done. Thank you.
No, it was perfect. So it's a little different than having to do foils and stuff. It's a little bit, it's something you can easily do on your own time at night, or in the morning if you're retired, or if you're a night owl, you could do it at night. So we would just give you access to whichever part you'd want to participate in. At the same time, it'll be interesting for you because you'll be reading some of the minutes around the state from different boards of elections, for example, or double checking dates. But it's a way to step into this maybe without having to go, gung ho a ton of hours. So if you are interested in helping, maybe put a note in the chat or email me at info@projectcivica.org. That way Danielle gets it too. And we will respond to you. It doesn't really matter how many people, I suppose, but what were you looking for roughly, Anne Marie? Just a couple of people, 5 people, 6 people, 2 people?
Yeah, I would like 4 people for
Okay.
each thing, but if someone says they want to do both sides, then I would give them, say, 10 counties, and they could look at both the, make sure the dates are correct and look at the records. Whatever works for someone, any help I can get, it'd be less that I have to review. So especially because I can't vet my own work, and I did 26 counties, so that's almost half the pie. I would prefer that someone vets all the information that I put in.
Yeah, so yeah, again, so let us know if that's something you want to jump in on. Like I said, it'd be a really good first step for somebody who wants to get involved and just doesn't know where to start. So Danielle, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
2 things. When is the project expected to be done? I know you have all this vetting to do, but if you have the volunteers you need, like when can we expect it? And the second thing is, did you let everybody know we are live streaming? I just wanted to let people know.
I think we talked about it in the beginning, but I didn't officially say that, but that's all right.
I'm anticipating probably by end of May we will have all the data in, but you can't count on that from we have a FOIL appeal right now which was even though they approved the appeal, they have decided that they're going to take another 30 days to fill it. I don't agree with it, but there's not much I can do right now. And they could not, it's very possible they might not fill it at all, and we turn around and have to appeal again, which is another 10 days on top of that. So So, but we can, once once one volunteer is totally finished, someone can start vetting that information while others are still waiting on their records.
Okay,
So
thank you.
probably I would say in a few weeks we have one volunteer done, but again, it's really all up based on the appeals officers and how they respond to us.
So this is a great project, and I mean, not necessarily simple to do, but it was just simple and it's, just on the face of it, just can you go to a website at the Board of Elections and see when their meetings are and see their minutes. And if they do minutes, like, can you understand what's going on? And like Anne Marie said, are they following the law? And are they, doing the minutes in such a way that you can understand how things are getting passed? Simple, basic, information that every government committee or not group, agency
Board.
should be doing, boards, thank you, boards should be doing in their meetings, all across our state, in whether it's local government, county government, or state government. So very important. So if you're interested, you could also put your name in the chat. If you just want to find out more and learn more about what you have to do, let us know that too. We're happy to kind of show you what it is, and what it would involve. So we appreciate that. Okay, and
One more thing.
Yeah.
There's that I spoke about the New York government transparency project, but I did not say that the first date for the training is on May 27th, and the sign up is on the website. So I did not say
And
that.
the time?
7 p.m.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
So please sign up. More information. It's a great training.
Exactly. Okay, and so I wanted to segue to our next speaker, who's going to talk about some of the efforts we're making on the Express Vote Excel that they've been trying to bring into New York State. It's in Monroe County right now, and in Suffolk County they bought them as well. And this kind of is where, well, some of the work we're doing in Suffolk County is where the idea came from with the open meetings law, and to see what the minutes are like, and if they're actually voting on the money. So when they make a purchase, are they actually voting on it? Are they, taking steps that we as taxpayers would expect them to take in terms of these purchases? Because these machines are super expensive that they're buying, and it would be nice to know they're at least doing some cost comparisons and some research on what would be the best thing for the county to use. So one of the counties that we were looking at is Suffolk, and Roy was, and also Anne Marie was highly involved in that. And Roy has now turned this into an Article 78, I believe. So lucky.
So.
Go ahead. Why don't you
Listen, is it possible to share the screen?
It is.
I want to bring the villain up here.
Hold on, let me see. I think you've got you should be able to.
Okay.
Look under that. Do you have a share button?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, are we seeing what we're supposed to be seeing there?
Yeah, there's the villain.
Okay, that's the villain. That's Express Vote Excel. And you can see some of the problems with the machine. There's no hand-marked paper ballots, which is something that we think is essential. Twice as expensive, create long wait lines. Also, it's complicated for some people to use. A lot of elderly people don't want to deal with ATM machines. Basically, that's what they look like, touch screens. And plus, you have to buy probably 3 or 4 more times machines than you would with just scanners. So it gets very expensive. So what happened was the county executive in Suffolk County put up a budget, and in the budget, it called for the purchase of 2,750 of these machines at a cost of over $34 million. So we opposed that. We've been opposing it for probably about 2 years, since they introduced the budget, which was early 2024. So a group of us have been going to the county legislature, complaining about the machines, trying to get the process straightened out, what they're doing. And anyway, so they The budget was given to the legislature. The legislature held some meetings. They approved the budget and approved the purchase of the machines. And so they appropriated the money. However, the decision as to which machines to buy was still up to the Board of Elections. The Board of Elections, Suffolk County Board of Elections, has two commissioners who have to vote as to what machines to buy. And they had choices of 4 different machines. Even though this was in the budget, they still claimed that they hadn't made a choice, that they were still going to make a choice after they did a review, after they did an RFP, which is a request for proposals, and actually, analyzed the cost effectiveness of the machines. And bottom line was, we found no record. What we did is we foiled all the information we could over the course of the last year and a half. We foiled a lot of information. Anne Marie is a primary person in all this. She's been directing a lot of this, and we're just carrying out her wishes. And we're doing so anyway, we got no information from the Board of Elections as to whether or not they actually voted on these machines. So the only way we can tell, a decision was made, but it wasn't made in the public. So we asked for specific FOIL information, which they denied us in the end of, I guess it was January, February, and March. They denied the FOIL information we asked for, which was we wanted information on the actual vote, when the commissioners met, when they voted, and they refused to give that information to us. So we filed an appeal, and the appeal was denied. And that left us with no choice but to move on with Article 78 or just forget the whole thing altogether. So we're in the process now. We're preparing the Article 78. And we have a draft put together. And we have just given it to an attorney who's helping us out pro bono. And he's looking it over to see how it seems to, if it's going to work or not. So yeah, and basically the 2 things we're looking for is we're going after them for not completing the FOIL. We felt they should have given us the information, they didn't give it to us. And that's information that involves internal communications with the commissioners, which normally they wouldn't give to us. They consider those interagency or intra-agency documents, and they wouldn't normally give that to us. So we're requesting that information, and that's what one focus of our FOIL is, that they're supposed to get that information to us. It's not exempt. That information is not exempt in this case because the decision was made, and we want that information. And it's hard for us to move forward until we see what the rationale was for the decision. The other thing was, if they did in fact make a decision, which they had to somewhere along the line, it obviously was done undercover, secretively, behind closed doors, and that'd be a violation of the open meetings law. So that's the other prong to the lawsuit. So it's not complying with FOIL and not complying with the open meetings law. So that's pretty much where we're at, and we do have a draft put together, and hopefully we'll have something in another week or so, right? Anne Marie, does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, everything was good. Yep, it's on legal review. It'll come back to us once we make any changes that have been referenced. Then we'll put it forward to a group of people that want to, review it and give us their feedback, and then it will be finalized and filed.
So this is something we've been doing. Roy will be filing this pro se. Okay, so we have an attorney who's kind of helping us behind the scenes, but he's not admitted in New York, unfortunately. It's one of the big issues that we've had. Is just trying to find an attorneys in New York willing not to help, let alone try to do it pro bono or even for reduced fees. It's quite the challenge. So in any case, Roy will be doing this pro se. Roy won another lawsuit that was pro se earlier. So not that he's the expert at it, but he's our biggest expert on it and on the team since he won.
We're in trouble if that's the case.
But you know what it is when we have multiple eyes on it, we may not know everything, but a lot of us have do research. We have a question, we'll ask the question, we'll research it, and I thought we did a pretty, told we did a pretty good job with that lawsuit in Monroe County. And then Sue H is here. She just is in the midst of an Article 78 that she's doing pro se as well against Suffolk County. So this would be
Okay,
the,
shout out to Sue H.
yeah,
She joined me when we went to the legislature to complain about the machines. She was probably with me every time I went. So we
yeah.
probably went there a dozen times to the Budget Committee, the Ways and Means Committee, legislature. So Sue was there, right there by my side. We got our 3 minutes to speak, and we spoke every time and let them know what's what. They didn't listen to us, but that's all right. You know,
Well,
Well, and
The recordings, oh, I'm sorry. The recordings are on our Vimeo, some of those recordings, if anybody's interested.
yes,
They're very-
that's a good point. A lot of the meetings are recorded, so you can get the video of people. But I would disagree with the fact that you were complaining. You were proactively advocating for elections that are on hand-marked paper ballots, basically, which is the gold standard, which is what all our elections should be based on. And they're trying to move us to machines, a big black box with a summary card and a QR code, which it just is even more, opaque. We can't understand or can't see what's happening. So I would say you were advocating for election integrity and not complaining. There's a big
That's-
difference between complaining
that's
and
good.
advocating. And I listened, I wasn't there, but I watched all of those presentations, those 3 minutes afterwards. And you folks were very knowledgeable and you were very respectful, but you had your facts down. And that's really what it takes. It doesn't always work. But we don't stop pushing back on it. And the decision to buy millions and millions of dollars on a machine that we can't find out what even the criteria they use to purchase those machines, why those machines. I mean, we can't find any of that out. And they whatever the agency is, they have to stop making decisions behind closed doors and make them publicly. And this is the start of that and pushing back. So thanks, Roy. And if anybody is interested in has an issue that they want to push back on, we certainly can help you with freedom of information law requests. We have a team of people now that have done a couple of these Article 78s pro se. So even if you don't have the dollars to hire an attorney, we can try together to come up with a plan. Sue, I do you want to chime in there?
Yeah, I would just add to one thing to what Roy and you were talking about with regard to the Board of Elections and the commissioners were the ones that actually made the decision on which machines to purchase. And I don't know if everybody here is aware that throughout the New York State counties, there are two commissioners. One is for the Republican Party and one is for the Democratic Party, and they have to agree together in order to proceed with decisions that affect their department. But another thing to be aware of is that these commissioners are in fact appointed by the party leaders. So that means that the Republican commissioner is appointed by the Republican chairperson for that county, and similarly, the Democratic commissioner is appointed by the Democratic chairperson. So I'm just going to put that out there just to make everybody aware that this is the process, and also to put in a plug for committee membership because and the precinct strategy that some of you may be aware of, that getting involved at the local level is very important because there are two representatives from every election district within a county that make up the voting members of the party. And as a voting member, you have a say in who the party leaders are, and they in turn have a say in who the commissioners of the Board of Elections are. So it really comes down to if you want change within your county, within your party, this is where you get started as a committee member. And this is the impact it has, because now Suffolk County, we're experiencing a $34 million purchase of new electronic voting machines that, number one, many residents of Suffolk County are unaware of, partly because of the fact that they're not publishing these decisions online and making the public aware of them, and number two, the public may not even want them. So it's just another example of how important it is to get involved at the local level. Thanks.
Perfect. And we've talked about precinct strategy before. And yes, thank you, Stephen. Stephen put a link to the national website, and I guess it's probably a coalition of state teams, and Project Civica is the state team for New York, and Sue and Patrick Wynn are the folks that work on it. So Patrick spent the last couple of months meeting every Monday night, educating people on precinct strategy and how you can get involved and answering questions while the committee petitioning process was going on. And now we've dropped down to once month. It's the first Monday of every month. So if you're not sure what a precinct project or precinct strategy is, in New York, we don't have precincts. We have election districts, but nationally, it's kind of known as the precinct strategy. So that's why we kept the name. But find out more about it. Hop in on the next meeting, which I think will be in the first Monday of June, and find out a little bit more, and then maybe investigate it locally. It doesn't matter what party you're in. We are nonpartisan about pushing this. I think no matter what party you're connected with, getting involved locally and getting involved in the decisions of what's happening locally is important. And as you can see, as Sue mentioned, it has impact on county decisions on $34 million, who the Republican Party chair and the Democrat Party chair in Suffolk County. And that starts with the precincts, with the committees that you can be part of. So local impact has county impact, and right on up to state and national. So there's just one example how local action can affect our lives. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. And is Walt on here? I was going to go to him next if he was here. I don't know if he jumped on yet.
I don't see him.
Yeah, okay. We were going to talk about the NCOA stuff. So I guess I'll jump over and we'll come back and see if he pops on. I know that John is here. John, would you do me a favor and at least pull up the NCOA graphs, and maybe I'll have you kind of share a screen and briefly talk about it if we don't get Walt, and I can help you too if Walt doesn't jump on. Or you can email or message Walt and see if he is coming, because he did tell me he would be late and he would jump on. So I want to show people what we're finding research-wise with the national change of address and people who've moved out. But in the meantime, I wanted to talk about advocacy efforts. So one of the things that Project Civica is involved in is advocating in Albany and Washington for bills and legislation. We've mostly focused on election integrity just because that's one of our active committees or active initiatives, but I'm not adverse to adding other things that we advocate for. Now that we're getting a lot into freedom of information law and open meetings law, there's a bill that Anne Marie brought to my attention that we're probably going to push for too. So, we're certainly able to add some things into the mix. But there's three big things I want to talk about. So first, I want to talk nationally about the Save America Act. I know a lot of you have been involved in that. Many of you signed our petition locally. Many of you may have signed the Election Integrity Network's pledge on the Save America Act. They, at the national level, EIN has a pledge going. They are delivering signatures to Congress or to the Senate. I believe it's every 1,000 at a time. So that is there. And I don't know, Danielle, if you could pop that link into the chat, that would be great. So before everybody leaves, if you would sign that petition for New York. They have a little bit of a competition going to see which state is signing it the most, and New York is not even in the running. So we'd like to get some more signatures on that. But basically, the Save America Act, as probably you're hearing on the news, is stalled at this point in time. They did bring it to the floor. It is there. It hasn't necessarily been removed or voted on, but in order to move it forward, they will either need to have 60 votes to break what's called the filibuster, or they would have to do what I've always called the talking filibuster, which would be to talk their way through it until people give up. And so it doesn't seem likely that they're going to do that at this point in time. Mike Lee, who is spearheading the effort in the Senate, he definitely seems to be an optimist, at least outwardly. He keeps on saying that he thinks they'll come back to it. But if you listen to Leader Thune, Thune seems to say, hey, we had debate about it. I was the one who talked the most, which is kind of interesting because I think Mike Lee would win that. Senator Mike Lee would win that argument. And, we don't have enough votes, and that's the end to it. So I believe that we still should keep pressure on the Senate. So it's still worth it to make phone calls. It's not that hard to do. Just make a quick phone call so that the Senate knows that you are still interested in it, that we still want it passed. And as you know, Save America Act is voter ID when you vote, verification of citizenship, and there's some other components to it as well. So we are still pushing it, but unfortunately, it does seem to be stalled right now. The interesting thing that's happening, though, is there are some efforts at the state level to pass laws that are similar to the Save America Act. So even though it has not passed nationally, there are some states that are, have at least brought it out in their sessions in the state level. So, I mean, who would have thought 4 or 5 years ago when we, at least when I got involved in election integrity, that we would have actually had a bill on the at the national level asking for voter ID and citizenship. So I count it as a win in that, we've gone from people thinking that elections are perfectly fine to, 80% plus of Republicans and, over 50% of even Democrats believing that something needs to be done. So this is an issue that most citizens want, and it may not happen exactly the way we want it to, but I would really like everybody to keep pushing it and keep pressing it. And, at this point in time, it's probably up to God, and God can move mountains. So I believe God can move our Senate. So that's where I am on it. So if you all would just, when you're driving around, keep that number for Thune's office on speed dial, if those of you remember speed dial on your phones, and make a phone call. And just, when you're kind of waiting around in traffic or, sitting in your car driving places, make a phone call and just keep it front and center nationally. That's what I would ask. Stephen, yes.
Yeah, so I'm sure that many people have heard of John Solomon from Just the News.
Yes.
And so he's done a lot of reporting on foreign interference into our elections. And we know about how the FBI in 2020 had knowledge of this plot by that came out of China to bring in driver's licenses and create registrations and potentially create votes from that. There's also, and this was information that was known widely within the intelligence community at the time, but it was suppressed from the Trump administration and withheld, and only has come out recently as of the result of declassifications that have gone on with the ODNI's office, Tulsi Gabbard. And so he also says that there is 12 to 18 states that have had their voter registration database penetrated by Chinese hackers. And so there's limited documentation of this so far that's been declassified, but he thinks within the time frame of, say, the end of the month or so, that there's going to be a lot more declassifications on this. And he thinks that some of the senators that are kind of curmudgeons and not moving on this, like the Tom Tillises and of the world, it might be their states. And when they see that their state voter registration database was infiltrated, it might change their mind and see and push them over the edge to see the need for this. So, I mean, that's just something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, right now it's stalemated, but absolutely, and more information could definitely change the whole scenario. So thank you for that. That's an excellent point. Yeah, we don't know what the coming weeks will bring that will help move mountains, as we say. We, as you know, have been advocating for Viva New York in New York State. Viva New York actually is a bill that would retain hand-marked paper ballots. It's kind of the answer to the Express Vote Excel, because you can't, it basically eliminates the possibility of a machine that tabulates votes itself. So you would have to, most of us are used to voting on hand-marked paper ballots. You fill in the circle, you go over to a machine that tabulates it, you put your ballot in there. So it would eliminate the Express Vote Excel possibility unless they made changes to it, and it would retain that hand-marked paper ballot that we're really trying to hold on to in New York State. It's one of the things that New York State does that is excellent, that we want to keep. So that bill looks like it hasn't passed the Senate floor yet, but it did get out of the New York Senate Election Committee. And it should get voted on shortly. We believe it will pass the state Senate, and then it will be in the Assembly. So the call to action on that bill is calling the Election Law Committee in the Assembly. And if you look at our newsletter, it's called Viva New York, and we can grab the numbers on it. Viva, V-I-V-A. And I'm forgetting what Viva stands for. I should know it, but I forgot. I'll look it up. But anyways, basically it's hand-marked paper ballots, and it's been around for a while. We've pushed it every year. This is a good year for us to hopefully get it passed, because the NAACP in New York State came out in support of it. It is also one of the Let New York Votes coalition bills that they're pushing. So it has support on both sides of the aisle. The Republicans want it, or the conservatives want it, the right and the left wants it as well, for different reasons, interestingly, but it doesn't matter. Everybody recognizes we need to retain those hand-marked paper ballots. So this hopefully will be the year we can get it through with that NAACP support, and we're trying to get it through the Assembly. So calling your assembly person, actually you can call your state senator too and say, please vote for this bill, because like I said, it hasn't hit the floor of the Senate yet. So, you can ask your state senator to say yes on this bill, to vote for this bill, and call your assembly person to say, that you support this bill. In the assembly, they're looking for Democrats. Okay, that's the key thing. The way New York State is set up right now, it's very partisan, especially in the assembly. So if you've got a Republican assembly member, and you can call and tell them that you support the bill. If you have a Democrat assembly person as your assembly person who represents your district, ask them to sign on to the bill as the sponsor. That's the call to action there. And then in the newsletter, we have the election law committee folks, a link to get to them, and pick one or two of them, make a phone call. Maybe your assembly person is there, but that's the call to action there. And then the third bill I want to bring your attention to is the bill that I just wrote a Substack on, and you can find out more about that. That's in the newsletter. Maybe either I see Anne Marie doing it too as well. Either Danielle or Anne Marie can put a link to that Substack in the chat. And that is a bill that is automatic voter registration through Medicaid and other government agencies. It is an opt-out process. So it means that everybody will automatically get registered. The boards of elections are going to get oodles of registrations through basically Medicaid. And if you've been paying attention to the news at all, New York is tops the nation in Medicaid spending. They've already found a ton of fraud. I'm waiting for the big expose on Medicaid fraud. We don't need the problems with Medicaid in New York in our voter rolls. We don't want that. It did pass the Senate. It's still in the Assembly. It's still in the, I believe, the Election Law Committee of the Assembly. We oppose it. I would suggest everybody read my Substack, make up your own mind on it, and call your assembly person and tell them you absolutely do not want this bill passed. In New York, we are a sanctuary state, and that means people on Medicaid are non-citizens. So it's just going to allow non-citizens on our voter rolls, making it easier for them to vote. I'll give people the benefit of the doubt if you're a non-citizen, because perhaps they don't realize they can't vote. If they vote, it prevents their ability to become citizens. So, not even getting into fraud of them purposely voting and knowing they can't, but just just the fairness factor for them too. So absolutely don't want non-citizens voting, and we don't want the fraud. We don't want all the registrations. The motor vehicle department is the #1 place where any changes. So like if you go and you interact with the motor vehicle department, it generates a registration, and it's probably where a lot of our duplicates come from. A lot of the problems are coming from that motor vehicle department. So interestingly enough, the motor vehicle department is the one place where they're actually asking for ID when you go in. Think about all the documents you need when you go to the motor vehicle department. But it's still, if you go in there and give them a different middle initial, it can create a new registration. So we don't want that with this new law. And I believe it's S88A. I could be wrong on the letters that I wrote down or in the numbers.
It's in the chat. It's in the
Put
chat.
it in the chat. Thank you. I'm horrible at remembering what the bill numbers are. I can always remember the letters, the names.
The Senate is 7116 and Assembly 6287.
Are you sure the Senate one was shorter?
I don't know. That's
All
what I
right,
had on this.
I'll double check on it. So anyways,
that was in the newsletter. So if it's wrong.
In the newsletter is probably what it was. I was remembering wrong then. But those are the 3 calls to action. The legislature will be in session through June. And once they get the budget passed and through, they wham bam put tons and tons and tons of legislation through. And so we're trying to get ahead of it. Okay, and then the last thing I want to talk about tonight, I do see Walt. I think I saw Walt come in and out. Walt, are you here right now? Yes, I see you.
I'm here too, Kim.
Okay. All right. Yeah, if you guys would
I'm here.
Unmute and share some of the graphs that you did for the national change of address. This will be a Substack that I actually have pretty much ready to go. So you're getting kind of a sneak peek at it. So for those of you that don't know, National Change of Address, NCOA, is a report that you can get from the post office. And when people move, so when people move out of New York State or move within New York State, one of the things everybody does is notify the post office of where they're moving to, right? So your mail and your bills and your birthday presents can get transferred to the right spot or go to the right spot. The post office keeps track of that, and we can get that report, which we just did in March, and we were able to do some graphs to show some of the things we found. So this first one looks like
Could I just say one thing in case somebody on the call does not realize? It is very important that our voter rolls are accurate. We have a lot of extra people and numbers on our voter rolls, and we call them bloated voter rolls. And if they're not accurate, the wrong people can get absentee ballots, request absentee ballots, or votes can be, people can go and vote more than one time if they're in multiple counties. So it's very important that there are accurate records and accurate vote counts so we could check to make sure that the elections are accurate also. And our elections are so important, it affects every aspect of our life. So we have a really dedicated team looking into the voter rolls and comparing it to other databases to see where the problems are. And we create reports and we send them to the accurate places where either criminal, law enforcement, or to boards of elections, or to Congress. We send the reports to somebody that will do something about it, because this has to get taken care of.
So the thing about it is there's residency requirements for when you vote. And that's kind of where I was going to get to is, so you in New York State, you're supposed to be a resident at least 30 days prior to voting. So you've got to, so if you move from, say, Erie County to Suffolk County, when you move, you have to re-register to vote in that county. And the same thing happens when you move out of state, right? So if you move from New York to New Jersey or to Florida, which are the top two destinations for New Yorkers, you would register to vote in those new states. But the voting record in your old location, often that registration stays. And so the key thing to take away here is if you move, try to get your registration that move, contact your Board of Elections and have them remove or purge your record from where you moved from. So it should be I think it should be one of the things when you get the lists, like what to do when you move, they'll give you a list of things to do, like, contact the post office and contact a moving company and have your electricity bill, turned off or switched or whatever. I think it should be right there. Is contact the Board of Elections and tell them you're moving, because they have to hear from you in writing. So if you have moved and you haven't done that, double check that your registration isn't open still in another county or in another state. And that's what we're tracking. We're tracking the people that are, in two different places. So this is what some of the data is. Go ahead, Walt and John, if you guys want to talk about it.
Okay, this graph is the moves within New York State, where they move to, the counties they move to are on the x-axis, and the numbers are in the pivot table on the left.
So the top two places people moved to were Suffolk, Nassau, Westchester, Monroe, Erie. Those are, or top five, I guess I named, right? And so there were 676,585 moves within New York State, according to National Change of Address.
All right, next graph.
Yeah.
Okay. $185,112 moved out of state from New York City before the November 2025 election. So these are the states they moved to on the x-axis.
New Jersey?
Yep. Yep, that's the last couple of years. That's what we're finding, that New Jersey is the #1 place that New Yorkers are moving to.
And second is Florida.
Yep,
That's from New York City.
exactly. Yep, so out of New York City. Go ahead, next graph.
Okay. Oh, that's not a graph. Hang on.
That's the sequel inquiry.
Just a second.
That's the supporting documentation, so we can figure out what we how we came up with the graph.
Yeah. Let's see. Trying to get back to. Oh, okay.
There you go.
Gotta get back into graphs. Let's see. There it is.
Yeah, I think you X'd out of. There you go.
These are the states they moved to outside of New York State.
So it flipped from last year. Florida is #1 and New Jersey is #2.
Okay.
Basically almost 500,000. And that's what does it go back to? What year? I can't remember now. Is that 4 years back, right?
4 years back, yes.
Yes. So that was before November.
Yeah, it's a little smaller number. The previous one was 490,000. This 471,000 moved outside of New York State before the election, and these are the states they moved to.
Do you have the voters?
Coming.
No, we don't have the voters, but they could be gotten.
Yes. So these are the ones that actually voted. Moved outside of New York State before the election, but we still have votes registered for them. So they're
In New York.
suspect.
Right.
These are suspect votes because they should not have voted unless there was some reason, timing wise. Kim, could you explain that about the 90 days? Or is it
right? So basically, there's a couple of reasons why it would. Yeah, we don't always. It may not totally be illegal. So basically, if you were moved out of New York State and say you moved to New Jersey, which is the first column there, and you voted in New Jersey, that's fine. But if you vote in New Jersey, you're obviously not supposed to vote in New York as well. And so there's a time limitation there for, according to the law. And I thought it was 30 days residency, and you just said 90. So now I'm questioning myself.
No, I think you're probably right. It's probably 30.
Yeah. So, I mean, they conceivably could have gotten a mail-in ballot, for example, right before they left, voted, and then moved, and that kind of a thing in that 30-day window. But basically, for most of these people, if they moved out of New York State, they should vote where they reside, not in New York anymore.
Mhm.
So that's generally, so it would require a little bit more investigation, but we're just showing you that there are votes registered for people that, have voted here in New York when they don't live here anymore.
Mhm. If we had access to other states' voting rolls, we could investigate. But even if we had that, we don't have enough people to investigate all these.
Right, so we'd be looking for double votes. So we do get the voter rolls from Florida and New Jersey because those are the top two places that New Yorkers move to consistently. And we do compare New York for, Florida to see if these people voted in Florida or New Jersey, and then we get possible double votes. And the ones from last year that we found, they were reported to, I reported them to district attorneys. And we actually got responses from 13 different counties and district attorneys investigating them. So we do take action on it. Thanks, Walt. Next.
Did that go into the red flags report also?
It did. I think we're up to 13. I think when we wrote the report, we weren't quite at 13, but now we've gotten a few more responses.
Okay, now this 5,257 is the people that moved out of New York State. We have another graph similar to this regarding people that moved out of New York City and still registered to vote in New York
Yep.
City.
Do we have that?
Yes, I'll get to that in a minute.
Thank you.
Before we get to that, there's one other thing regarding the people that moved out of New York State, and that is the method of voting. These same 5,257 we just looked at, the graph here shows how they voted in New York State. It could be that someone else voted in their name. Because what we see here is we've got 485 people that showed up in person for, oh no, early, right.
That's mail voting.
Early mail voting, okay. 7 people voted by affidavit in early voting, and 1,539 showed up in person at the polls to vote early, and 168 filed an election day affidavit, which means they showed up in person. So, in the case of the affidavits, we could ask the Board of Elections to examine those affidavits and verify that those were the actual registrants that filled out the affidavit.
It's
If
just
it
very,
says if it says by affidavit, does that mean the vote was counted, or it just means it was submitted?
no, it means that the vote was counted because it's in their voter history.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So, and then not only that, at the poll is interesting, 2,271, not early voting, that's day of elections, even though they supposedly moved out.
Yeah.
So
Do you know
again,
which ones, I'm sorry, do you know which ones are New Jersey and which ones are, could you isolate just Florida?
we could take it further and pull out the ones from New Jersey or Florida. We just haven't yet.
Because it's easy to go from New Jersey, just, jump over, whatever.
Jump over the border. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We could pull out New Jersey and see how much of this is New Jersey. Yep. That's a good point.
Okay.
And then last graph. Yep.
Okay. Well, there's three more.
Oh, sorry.
Moved outside of New York State from the 5 boroughs of New York City: Bronx, Kings, New York County, Queens, and Richmond.
Yeah. We looked at New York City because of the mayoral race.
Empty, completely empty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm. And now I can see what you do with them when I hear that noise.
Mhm. Now this is a subset of the previous one, except that these actually voted.
Oh,
The previous graph was registrants. The 5,000 number, the 3,589 actually registered to vote, presumably in New York City.
okay, interesting.
Mhm.
So they moved out and then they came back and they voted in New York City.
Yep.
Apparently. Yep.
And what's the total of that? That's 4,000?
3,589.
Okay, 3,000. Okay.
Yeah. So not enough that it would have changed the result of election, but still,
Okay, there's one more.
if New York City and New York State were accurately removing people due to NCOA results, we wouldn't have these large numbers, and they're not.
The same number as how they voted: absentee, at poll, early mail voting, early vote at poll, and election day affidavit.
So this surprised us, right? We kind of thought, oh, probably a lot of people mailed in their vote. So that's a good point, Danielle, about looking at New Jersey to see what percentage made up of, these were New Jersey people, because it is so easy to jump. Or Connecticut would be another one, be easy to jump across the border and vote, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a gentleman up here in Western New York who moved and voted because he never registered in his new location. He came back and voted at his old location. And because he was a political figure, they went after him for that. So it is illegal.
Mhm.
So
It is
that's,
illegal, but the only issue I have is, like I said, you couldn't move, like my daughters have moved temporarily out of my home and then come back, and this remains their primary address, but they didn't change their driver's license or anything either. That's the only thing, when they did that, they
Right.
just
You need-
changed their residence.
we would need to investigate this further. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's an illegal vote, but it requires a little bit more investigation. That's for sure. And even if you find a double vote, say a vote in New Jersey and a vote in New York City, it still requires more investigation. And because you can't even prove that somebody just didn't vote in your name too, which is why we need voter ID. And a lot of this just supports the reasons why we need accurate rolls, why we need voter ID, because we should have minuscule numbers here, not 3,589. If
Right.
the Board of Elections was getting the data they needed and quickly making changes, we just want people to vote in the elections where they have a financial interest and where they live.
Yes. Okay.
I think that's the last graph, right, Walt?
Right. That's it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So
Okay, you're welcome.
we wanted to show people some of the things that the voter roll research team is working on. This is a project that's, well, we thought was finished, but maybe now we'll take a look at those New Jersey people and Connecticut people, the states around, to see if that gives us any insight too.
One more question. There's in the chat, Jacqueline says that, is there have you separated Democrats and Republican? Is it primarily one party over another, or is it mixed?
It's mixed.
It
Yeah,
is
that's what I-
mixed. Yeah, it is mixed, but I would say when you're looking at New York City, because there are more Democrats in New York City, you're going to find more, there would be more Ds there, that's for sure. Yeah, just because there's the way the pie is made up, if you will. But we tend not to do that too much with voter roll research because we're trying to look at things pretty dispassionately and nonpartisan. And it really doesn't matter whether it's a conservative, a Democrat, a Republican doing, double voting or voting, coming back and voting when they shouldn't. It shouldn't be, we should expect the Board of Elections to keep accurate, up-to-date rolls. And, if they did, there wouldn't be this question as to how many people are coming back to vote.
Yeah.
So.
But I wonder if that's why they had to vote affidavit, is that they were no longer, they weren't supposed to be voting at that polling site.
No, they weren't. Maybe it may be a matter of the local rolls had them moved and the state rolls did not. That might be a possibility. So we should probably look at those affidavits and look at the local county rolls a little bit more and investigate it further.
I'm very curious because one year, I can't remember what year it was, I was a poll chair at one of the polling sites. And that year, quite a few people, and I don't remember if it was 22, quite a few people came in and they could not vote because they had been switched out of their address to a previous address. So I wonder if you just wonder what happens in the books,
Yeah. I mean, and I think the biggest thing I would say is that, in terms of people looking at this, if you're interested in this, and you want to, delve in deeper, join us, because we're limited on the bodies, there's only so much time in the day for people to work on all this. So that, we can always use more help and more people trying to dig into things. So appreciate that.
What Walt says is, says that we need data analysts, if anybody is a data analyst.
Yep. Exactly. Willing to learn. And there's a bit of a learning curve with it, but it is interesting, strangely enough.
But this little team, the information from this little team created a really substantial report, and the report was combined with the other states' reports that all these smaller teams in other states put together their reports, and it was submitted as a large report, and it got reviewed for problems in our voter rolls and in our elections and in the state databases. So it is being considered nationally. So and it's helping to frame future solutions. So it's very exciting.
Exactly. So I guess I don't know, Danielle, it's already 9 o'clock. Do we want to hold off on what you were going to talk about? We'll maybe make that the topic next week, possibly.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So I don't want to keep people too long, but we wanted to give everybody a chance to see some of the things that we're working on internally, and ask you guys, maybe if you're not plugged into something, to consider plugging into one of the groups with one of the things we talked about. Even advocacy, it takes someone to kind of keep track of what's happening with these bills and then keep the calls to action, write those up. So there's lots of ways that you can jump in and help. And, if you're new to it, we'll show you how to do it. It's we were all new. I didn't do any of this 5 years ago, so we were all new a few years ago. So on that note, I'm going to say goodnight. I see people are starting to jump off as it gets late, and we appreciate all of you being here. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your time and energy and your concern about making a difference in New York. So on that night, good night, and we will see you.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Good night.
Thank
you.
Okay.
Peace.
Any
Okay, good night,
questions?
all.
We're here for a second if anybody has any questions. So.
Stop the recording. And then, Danielle, you want to stop the live stream?
Oh, okay. How do I do that?
Go in and stop